Welcome to I Wrote This News. Today is January 21st, 2022. Here's what you need to know. In a 6-3 decision, the Supreme Court rejected a request from abortion providers in Texas that a federal judge be allowed to take prompt action on their challenge to a state law that bans most abortions after 6 weeks. The practical effect of the order, the 3 liberal justices wrote in dissent, was to let the law stay in place indefinitely. The majority gave no reasons for its ruling, which followed a decision last month allowing the providers to sue at least some state officials to try to block or limit the law. That victory was an empty one. The United States Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit in New Orleans refused to return the case to the trial judge and instead sent it on a legal detour to a state court. In her dissent, Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote, "This case is a disaster for the rule of law and a grave disservice to women in Texas who have a right to control their own bodies." As aid trickles into the South Pacific nation of Tonga, devastated by a volcanic eruption and tsunami, an Australian aid flight was forced to return to base due to a positive COVID-19 case on board. A defense official said on Friday, Tonga is COVID-free and has a strict border control policy, and is requiring contactless delivery of aid that began arriving by plane on Thursday. All crew had returned negative rapid antigen tests before departure, but PCR tests later showed the positive result. The supplies were moved to another flight that took off on Friday. Trump campaign officials, led by Rudy Giuliani, oversaw efforts in December 2020 to put forward legitimate electors from 7 states that Trump lost, according to 3 sources with direct knowledge of the scheme. Sources said that Giuliani and his allies coordinated the nuts and bolts of the process to overturn the election results on a state-by-state level. One source said there were multiple planning calls between Trump campaign officials and GOP state operatives, and that Giuliani participated in at least one call. The source also said the Trump campaign lined up supporters to fill elector slots, secured meeting rooms in state houses for the fake electors to meet on December 14, 2020, and circulated drafts of fake certificates that were ultimately sent to the National Archives. A teenage pilot has become the youngest woman to fly solo around the world following a 5-month challenge. Zara Rutherford, 19, landed in Belgium 2 months later than planned as a result of adverse weather. During the trip, she spent a month stuck in Nome, Alaska, and 41 days in Russia. On her return to Belgium, she was accompanied in her landing by 4 planes from the Belgian Red Devils aerobatic display team. Transplant scientists are continuing to go hog wild, this time jamming pig parts into a brain-dead man. The University of Alabama School of Medicine announced the successful transplant of genetically modified pig kidneys into a brain-dead human, replacing the recipient's own kidneys, which were working just fine, thank you very much. Scientists say the procedure was necessary to address critical safety concerns, and it demonstrates how xenotransplantation could help alleviate the worldwide shortage of human organs. Radio silence, however, about how this scheme might create a worldwide shortage of willing pigs. Now it's time for On This Day in History. On this day in 1774, Abdulhamid I becomes Sultan of the Ottoman Empire and Caliph of Islam. On this day in 1789, the first American novel, The Power of Sympathy or The Triumph of Nature, Founded in Truth by William Hill Brown, is printed in Boston. On this day in 1915, Kiwanis International is founded in Detroit. On this date in 1960, Little Joe 1B, a Mercury spacecraft, lifts off from Wallops Island, Virginia, with a female rhesus monkey named Miss Sam on board. Celebrating birthdays today are golfer Jack Nicklaus, tenor Placido Domingo, actresses Jill Eikenberry and Gina Davis, singer Billy Ocean, and economist Tyler Cohen. Happy birthday to all of them. And if your birthday is today, a very happy birthday to you as well. By the way, if you or someone you know has a birthday coming up, send us an email or leave us a voice message with a greeting. We will be happy to include that in an upcoming show. You'll find the links in the show notes. Today's news was brought to us by the New York Times, Reuters, CNN, the BBC, and as always, Wikipedia. If you have a comment or a question about anything you've heard today, or if you have a suggestion, please send us a note at I Wrote This News, all one word, at thatradioshow.com. That email address one more time is I Wrote This News, all one word, at thatradioshow.com.
One more thing, if this podcast sounds a little funny, that's because it's also an experiment. All of the vocals were generated using AI technology. Hopefully the show will sound different and better as the tech improves and as we improve at using it. I'm Bob Neese, hoping you have an amazing day. We'll get together again soon.